This video won't have any fancy editing, inspirational soundtrack, or motivational quotes on the screen. It's just you, the sound of my voice, and the harsh reality that many people avoid facing. Put on your headphones, do what you have to do, wash the dishes, catch the bus, play a game, face the boredom of everyday life. Because the idea here isn't to entertain you, it's to wake you up. And if this video hits you hard, consider subscribing, not out of politeness, but because you might need to hear more of this. Some people wake up every day thinking that the universe owes them a formal apology for the failures in their life. Your coffee got cold? Cruel fate? Your boss was a jerk? Negative karma? Someone cut you off in traffic? It's the cosmos trying to sabotage your existence. But let me tell you something that could completely change your perspective. The universe doesn't care about you. And as shocking as that may sound, it's liberating. Because when you stop expecting the world to treat you fairly or kindly, you start taking real responsibility for how you react to it. This is exactly where stoicism comes in. While part of humanity drowns in emotional crises and illusory plans for absolute control, the Stoics have been laughing at this for over 2,000 years. They realized what most people are still trying to understand, that life is chaotic, unpredictable, unfair, and does not come with an instruction manual. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, these guys weren't talking pretty to gain followers. They were trying to survive their own personal hell, and they had only one weapon, mastering themselves, not the world, because the world does not bend to our will. Seneca already warned us. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Translating that into today's language, stop whining. The problem is not what happens to you, it's how you react to it. What did you expect? That life would be a margarine commercial? That everyone would smile, understand you, respect you, validate you? Number. The reality is that chaos doesn't ask for permission, and no one promised you a happy ending. Stoicism is about stopping expecting, stopping victimizing yourself. It's accepting that shit will happen, in sequence, without warning and without reason, and that it's okay. Inner peace isn't about creating a bubble of positivity where nothing can touch you. It's about being in the middle of the storm, looking at the chaos, taking a deep breath and saying, okay, let's do this. Because living well isn't about avoiding pain. It's about knowing how to face it without falling apart. And understanding that losing your job, getting rejected, failing miserably, falling flat on your face, isn't bad luck. It's Tuesday. When you stop fighting the uncontrollable and start fighting for yourself, the game changes. Frustration gives way to clarity. Anxiety dissolves when you accept that you can't control traffic, the weather, other people, or even the algorithm. But you can control what you do with all of that. And that, my friend, is the beginning of freedom. Epictetus, the Stoic who seemed allergic to whining, got right to the point. There are things that are within our control and things that are not. End of story. No footnotes, no exceptions. And what is within your control? Your thoughts, your actions, your reactions. The rest? Bad luck, good luck, chaos, statistics. There's no point in stamping your feet. Life won't change just because you're frustrated. But still, people live trying to control the uncontrollable, as if they wanted to tame a hurricane with a dessert spoon. Some people say, oh, but I like to plan. Great. Plan. Just don't turn your plan into an unhealthy obsession. You can spend a whole year planning your dream trip, and on the day of departure, everything can be cancelled because a llama decided to cross the runway in Peru. Life doesn't give a damn about your schedules. It happens as it pleases, and you can try to negotiate, but it will laugh at your attempt. The true Stoic is a master of adaptation. They don't freak out when things don't go according to plan. They rewrite the script, because they understand that resisting the inevitable only causes suffering. Complaining about what you can't change is like banging your head against a wall and expecting the wall to feel pain. And in that scenario, you're the one who ends up with a bump on your head. This is where the first reflex that every Stoic develops comes in. Ask yourself honestly, does this depend on me? If so, great, let's get to work. If not, accept it and move on. It's not passivity, it's focus, it's discipline. You can't control the line at the bank, but you can control what you do while you wait. You can't control what someone else said, but you can choose how you react. You can't control the rain, but you can decide whether to get wet or seek shelter, and that changes everything. This distinction between what depends on you and what doesn't is the turning point. It's where most people stumble, because they're trying to adjust the wind while forgetting about the sail. They want to change the world, but they don't know how to control their own reaction to the first snide comment. What's more, not every problem is a problem. Sometimes it's just drama, a minor frustration turned into a tragic opera. The waiter got your order wrong, and you act like you've been betrayed by a close friend. A criticism on Instagram becomes an existential crisis. The Wi-Fi goes down for 3 minutes, and it feels like the universe has collapsed. The truth is hard, but it needs to be said. Maybe you're just making a scene. The Stoics hated this habit of inflating feelings as if everything were the end of the world, because it's one thing to suffer for something real. It's another to use life as a stage for a personal soap opera. Suffering exists, of course, but exaggeration is a choice. And that choice is, guess what? Under your control. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and you unleash a whole dictionary of swear words. Your partner makes a snide comment, and that's it. The mood in the house sours for hours, but in the end, the one who really gets hurt is you. Always you. Anger, from a stoic point of view, is a poison you take hoping the other person will die. But you're the one who will sleep poorly, with heartburn and a hot head. Seneca, one of the greatest names in Stoicism, wrote an entire treatise on this feeling, and for good reason. He realized that anger is one of the most destructive and stupid emotions that exist. It promises justice, but delivers emotional revenge. It promises strength, but leaves you hostage to impulsivity. It promises relief, but charges dearly with regret and guilt. This doesn't mean you have to become an emotionless robot. It's not about swallowing your pride with a forced smile. The question is, what do you do with your anger? Are you going to let it drive your life like a drunk driver? Or are you going to put it in the back seat, buckled up and told to be quiet? Stoics feel anger, of course, but they don't react in the heat of the moment. They breathe, they wait, they think, because they know that decisions made in the heat of the moment have a 99% chance of turning into regret. Have you ever tried writing an angry email and not sending it? That's Stoicism applied to real life. Consider this example. Your boss humiliates you in front of everyone. Your immediate urge is to throw your monitor at him and storm out of the office. But the Stoic in you takes a deep breath and thinks, is this my problem? If I react now, what do I gain? What do I lose? And maybe, instead of becoming the headline in HR, you choose dignity, intelligence, and strategy. You feel it, but you don't let it overwhelm you. This isn't hypocrisy, it's self-control. It's emotional intelligence. It's maturity. It's the art of being a furnace on the inside and an iceberg on the outside. Because true power doesn't lie in who shouts the loudest, but in who chooses the right silence at the right time. Poorly managed anger is like setting your house on fire just to scare the neighbor. You pay the price and no one else cares. The next time it rises, ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Or is it just my ego screaming? Because almost always, it's the ego. And the ego is a terrible advisor. And since we're talking about ego, it's worth remembering another even more uncomfortable Stoic reminder. You're going to die. I'm going to die. Everyone is. You can stuff yourself with detox juice, mantras, and meditation apps. In the end, we're all going to turn to dust, worm food, or ashes thrown somewhere with sad music playing. Sounds morbid? That's because you don't get it yet. The Stoics saw this as liberation. Memento mori. Remember that you will die. This was their daily reminder to live right. Because those who live as if they will live forever put everything off. But those who accept death as a certainty live with more courage, more presence, and less fuss. Grand plans for an ideal future are the favorite illusion of the anxious mind. But what if it never comes? Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome and Stoic philosopher, wrote daily reminders of this. You can leave life now. Let that determine what you think, say, and do. This is not cemetery poetry. It is lucidity. The question that hangs in the air is simple. If today were your last day, would this be the way you would choose to live? Is this how you would like to be remembered? Scrolling through an endless feed? Getting into stupid arguments on WhatsApp? Eating yourself up with wounded pride? Stoicism doesn't tell you to live as if the world were going to end tomorrow, but it does require you to live with intention, because the right moment you're waiting for may never come. There are no guarantees. There is only now, this moment here, and it's already slipping away. That changes everything. It changes how you love, how you work, how you forgive, how you talk to people. When you truly understand that you could die at any moment, every gesture takes on greater significance. Every choice matters. Even problems seem different, because if even suffering is temporary, it is also part of the life you're lucky enough to experience while you're still breathing. So yes, you're going to die. And that, far from being terrifying, can be a guiding light. Until that day comes, there is a chance to live as someone who knows they are passing through. More action, less bullshit. More presence, less empty promises. More truth and less drama. For a Stoic, remembering death is remembering to live with courage, with presence, with decency. But living like this requires a second deep cut. Stop reacting like an emotionally ungoverned bag of flesh. Have you ever seen those people who live on the edge of collapse? Anything triggers them. Everything is offensive. Everything affects them. It's as if they're always ready to explode just because the world didn't obey their particular script. And that's where the most surgical advice of Stoicism comes in. Stop being reactive. Reacting is easy. Any child can do it. The hard part is taking a deep breath and responding consciously. The hard part is not letting your anger dictate your response, your sadness become an excuse, your wounded ego take the wheel. Stoics were not isolated monks trying to float in peace. They were on the battlefield, in politics, in exile, dealing with betrayal, failure, injustice. They felt everything, but they didn't become hostages to their emotions. They knew that between stimulus and response there is a space, and it is in that space that freedom resides. That is where you decide whether you're going to repeat an automatic pattern or choose something more worthy of who you want to become. This is not repression. It is mastery. It is not passivity. It is clarity. It is knowing that you are not a puppet pulled by invisible strings of emotion. You have a choice. You always have. You just haven't learned how to use it yet. Being reactive is easy. Anyone with a finger on the keyboard and an inflated ego can make a fuss over nothing. Yelling, cursing, slamming doors. It takes zero effort. The hard part is being strategically calm in a world that rewards outbursts. It's hard to breathe when everything inside you wants to explode. But that's exactly where real power lies. The Stoics called it ataraxia, an unperturbed mind. It's not that the world stops being chaotic. It's that you stop being tossed about by the waves like a paper boat. You learn to navigate. You learn to hold the rudder steady when the sea is rough. And that's a choice. It always has been. The next time your blood boils, remember this. You don't have to react. You can choose to respond. And that difference changes everything. Because being happy all the time is impossible. But being whole, coherent, present, that's within your reach. And there's one of the most poisonous traps of the modern generation, the obligation to be happy, as if life were a series of Instagram-worthy moments. Follow your dreams, do what you love, think positive, and if it doesn't work, guess what? It's your fault. You didn't meditate properly. You didn't get the right therapy. You didn't buy the right course. But the Stoics didn't care about this cult of happiness. They weren't looking for peaks of joy. They sought integrity. They wanted to be whole, to live with clarity, courage, and character. Happiness, when it came, was a consequence, not a goal. The goal was to live well, even when everything was difficult, to be someone who faces reality with firmness, without getting lost in the middle of it. Because living well isn't about smiling all the time. It's about being someone who, even in the face of pain, mistakes, and doubt, still acts with decency, still respects themselves, still moves forward without betraying their own essence. It's not a performance, it's a stance. It's not applause, it's a clear conscience. It's knowing that, even when no one is watching, you chose what was right, not what was easy. The Stoic life isn't pretty to look at on social media. It's not colorful or overly optimistic. It's real. It accepts that sometimes it hurts, that sometimes nothing makes sense, that fatigue sets in, that anger overflows, that sadness paralyzes. But even so, you keep going, with less posturing and more presence, with fewer sound bites and more concrete action. And that's what builds a strong character, a steadfast soul, true peace, one that doesn't depend on circumstances or the approval of others. That, deep down, is what separates those who are just acting from those who are truly living. Because being whole doesn't require an ideal setting, it requires commitment to who you want to be, even when everything seems to be falling apart around you. Reacting is automatic. Choosing your response requires maturity. Anyone with internet access and impulses can turn everything into drama. It's hard to stay calm when the world seems to be conspiring to throw you off balance. It's hard to stay whole when everything is calling for chaos. But that's precisely where true strength lies. Ataraxia, which the Stoics valued so much, is not about emotionally numbing yourself. It's about staying firm in the center of the storm. It's about not allowing your emotions to dominate who you are. Because in the end, you're not what you feel. You are what you do with what you feel. And no, this has nothing to do with faking happiness. The insane pursuit of being happy all the time is the new addiction of modernity, as if you were flawed for feeling sadness, fear, tiredness, as if happiness were a moral goal and pain a detour. The truth is that you can be sad and still live with dignity. You can be tired and still keep your word. You can be insecure and still act with courage. The Stoic knows that living well is not about avoiding suffering. It's about going through it without bending. So yes, you may not be radiant. You may have horrible days. You may make mistakes. You may fail. But if you keep trying, with clarity and integrity, you're on the right path. Because living well is not about living with a smile on your face. It is about living with meaning. And meaning is built in the small choices. In the way you respond to those who hurt you. In the way you deal with your failures. In the care you take with those you love. In the respect you maintain for yourself even when no one else is watching. Want a practical example? You have a job that isn't your dream, but you do it with excellence. You treat others with respect. You pay your bills. You take care of your mind, your body, your principles. That's virtue. That's character. That's what matters. You may not be jumping for joy, but you sleep peacefully. And that peace is worth more than any motivational quote on social media. That's what being whole is all about. Being someone who doesn't sell out, who doesn't lose themselves, who remains steadfast, even when everything around them is telling them to give up. Because when you're whole, happiness doesn't need to be pursued. It appears, silently, truly, sufficiently. And if you've made it this far, it's because something in this video touched you. So I ask you, like it, subscribe to the channel, and if you can, support this work with any amount. Your help strengthens this content and allows more people to have access to these reflections in a world that lives on autopilot. I'm not here to sell miracles, but to offer awareness. And if this made sense to you, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Life is short. Let it at least be lucid.